find this whole Tickle v Giggle situation, it's so bizarre, and I think your everyday person finds it so bizarre as well. So it's so great to have you at such a timely time. Now, the hearings for Tickle v Giggle start next week. Very, very, big and exciting and nerve-wracking. Tell us, how are you feeling about it all?
Well, it's such a roller coaster. Like, there can be literally from minute to minute. I can go from, this is the stupidest position anyone's ever been put in, to we're going to lose, my life is over, to yay, this is where, it's a slam dunk. It just depends on the time of day, because it is, they always say the process is the punishment, and it really is. I mean, at the end of the day, I am being taken to court for seeing a man and acting accordingly and creating a female-only space that he can't come into. That's it, in a nutshell.
So this case has been going on for quite a while now, at least 2 years. Can you give us an outline of how did this case come to be?
Okay, so I created a social networking app exclusively for women called Giggle. And it was basically just, the plan was, it was like where you could go to, for women to talk, to connect for emotional reasons, to, find your voice in a female-only environment, also to find roommates. There's a lesbian dating platform. It was lots of different sort of platforms in one. But our thought was it was just be this little corner of the internet for women. They're sort of classed as a niche social network or a niche app. And these sort of aren't rare. I mean, while it's all fallen to gender ideology, things like Grindr and Her, they were like gay male only or lesbian only. So having things that like just for a specific group is very, very normal. Incidentally, there are like 13 or 14 apps exclusively for trans people on the App Store and Google Play right now. So that community also understands the importance of hanging out with their own tribe, let's say. So I had no idea about this gender stuff before. I'd heard whispers of like inclusivity or like trans people. And I was like, okay, well, it hadn't affected my life. I was a good little progressive. I didn't think anything more of it. And then it all sort of hit me in February 2020. We were just on the App Store and Google Play. We hadn't launched yet. We were doing beta testing and we were ironing out bugs. And what I've come to know, a trans activist found us and inundated us with 1-star reviews, calling us transphobic. I was introduced to the word TERF. I had to Google it. I didn't know what it was. It's a trans exclusionary radical feminist. To be honest, I actually never really even heard of radical feminism. I'm much more up to date with it now, but I just didn't know any of this stuff. And so then at some point, about a year later, so basically we were cancelled right out of the gate. I will say that. No media would speak to us anymore. Like, the project was going to have us on. They were part of our launch plan. Mamma Mia was like, this is a bullseye for our audience. Like, we can't wait. What a fantastic idea. The moment I was called transphobic, no media, they've never responded to me again. There was no right of reply. Maybe, or can you explain actually what's going on here? So we made a decision as a company, because the company is owned by my mum and I. We made the decision that we would sort of tread water, because I honestly thought, I was like, they're saying men are women. This is so ridiculous. It's so preposterous. This will be over in a few months. I didn't realize still at that time. I'm the eternal optimist. I didn't realize still at that time that women actually had been fighting this already for years. I'm much more knowledgeable about the subject now. But at the time, I was like, this is so crazy. This will pass. Cut to 4 years later, it hasn't passed. But so we just made the decision, we'd sort of just like, as a company, tread water, just run it as cheaply as possible. And hopefully, we'd be able to move on eventually. In 2021, Roxy Tickle, the man who claims to be a woman, did get on the app. Now, there's context here. We had an onboarding gatekeeping to be able to keep it female only, because you go like, how would you actually have a female only online space? So it was actually my dad was the one who had found that there was basically AI technology that you just take a selfie, it scans it, male or female. And we had it set to 94% accuracy. It did occasionally let a man on, but it didn't reject women. So we were like, well, rightly or wrongly in making this decision, we were like, every now and then a man will get on, but we'll just manually remove him. I just didn't want women to get rejected. I didn't want them to experience that.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. And so like, what I'm talking like every few weeks, thousands of men would attack this app and try and get on it. Like, there was always some every day, but like we'd have these huge, big, like swarms of like big attacks from them. So a man occasionally getting on the app was not an event. Like, it was just part of the day of running it. So he did get on the app at some point. I don't remember removing him. It would have been me who did it. But I said it was not an event. So I just saw like the onboarding picture of a man and went, on your way.
Yeah.
Then when he became like a person in my life, of someone of note, he called and texted my phone and said, I've been removed from Giggle. I don't even remember then specifically what he said, but because I had his phone number, I sort of typed it into the Giggle server, because that was actually the only information we had as the anchor to the app for any user. And I saw the picture of a man, and I called my dad and I said, a guy who is blocked from Giggle has called and texted my phone, and I'm pretty scared. I'm pretty freaked out by this. It really made me feel. I was creeped out by it, because I was like, hang on a second, like, who do you think you are? My dad told me, he's like, just block his phone number and don't tell your mother, because my mum sees the death threats and the rape threats that women get, and she just sort of lives in fear for all of our safety, really. Anyway, I sort of thought nothing more of it, in the sense of like, when something creeps you out, but then you just like, okay, pretend it didn't happen and move on. I did that. Then I got an Australian Human Rights Commission complaint for alleged gender identity discrimination from one Mr. Tickle. My instinct from that moment, very quickly into the process, was that the AHRC were treating me as if I was just guilty, like no debate, you've done something wrong, you have to basically just agree to that and cop it. Yeah, basically. And I was like, I've actually done nothing wrong here. Nothing wrong.